Hey guys, KEnODvT here, and I'm bringing you the fourth of 5 games between Duckloadra and TheLittleOne. This is the finals of something. I suspect it may be the GSL, but I'm unsure. In the third game, we did see some excellent drops by both players. Eventually, Duckloadra was able to eke out an advantage, and eventually was able to make the TheLittleOne GG and quit. However, the TheLittleOne did have a Thor coming out, a Thor built at the time, dropping in his opponent's base, so it would have been quite interesting had he actually stuck around. I do apologize for that being left up. If you noticed it, well. But let's get on with the replay. The TheLittleOne has now gone back to Protoss, so this is interesting. I'm still unsure as to why he's swapping races all the time, but maybe he just gets bored. I do it all the time. Right, we do see this map being Metropolis, and they are both in the close spawning positions, which will make grabbing an expansion very, very difficult, especially considering that Protoss does have quite considerable troubles taking an expansion. Wouldn't it be a nightmare if you had to place down a pylon, then an expansion? That would just be horrible. Or the same for simulators. You'd have to be placing your first pylon back here. That'd be horrible. Anyway, given that it is PvP, we will see a very, very, very similar build from both players in the beginning. A pylon, probe. Chrono boosts are both being chrono boosts. Both chrono boosting, both are chrono boosting workers in the beginning. However, if he is able to eke out a 1 worker advantage, this will change the game. However, he is using 3 workers to try and pin that worker in and do what he can. He is placing down a 12 gateway, again, slightly earlier than the first game, and slightly earlier than Duckload, by about 6-7 seconds. So, Duckload is going for a 13 gateway, while TheLittleOne is going for a 12 gateway. It'll be interesting to see the difference, and I'm curious as to why you wouldn't just ignore the worker attacking your base. Now, we are going to see him try and pin this worker in, but no, it's not going to work. This worker is a very crafty worker. He's going after another one. However, he did see that one coming and was able to run away. He is going to hit this pylon, and it will take him, let's do the math, 1.5 for 5 damage. God's a crap load of time to kill it. But anyway, we will see a Zealot come out before that is able to happen, I am sure. So, that is almost non-existent. However, the TheLittleOne is doing exactly the same thing in his opponent's base, and I'm sure a Zealot will be... No, a Zealot has not been created to stop it. A Cybernetics core has been created to stop it. I wonder what he'll do. Throw energy at his enemy? We do now see that Duckloadra's worker was able to be sniped before he laid down the Cybernetics core. Duckloadra is now in doubt whether he was laying down another gateway or Cybernetics core. This could lead to some very, very interesting facts. TheLittleOne does still have a scout in the enemy's base, so he does know what's going on. He hasn't gone for a second gas yet, which does not indicate heavy tech. This gate, warp gate has been researched almost immediately, and we do see 2 Zealots are going to be out shortly. A second gateway is on the production line, and this is where the builds have started to deviate. The TheLittleOne already has... No, the TheLittleOne is already building his second gateway. However, his Cybernetics core is quite behind. The enemy's Cybernetics core was already up and producing warp gates before he got his second gateway. So these are slight deviations. They don't actually account to much, in my opinion, but here comes a third warp gate, gateway from the TheLittleOne. That is quite a big deviation, except for the fact that Duckload copied, or maybe they copied one another. I don't know. However, these 3 Zealots are going to prove a massive advantage. 1 worker down. No, not a second worker down. Okay, so 1 worker down for each player. So even at the moment, which means that Duckloadra did lose out because of the amount of Stalker. The amount of Zealots that he lost, and he will lose his pylon, which means units lost wise he has lost quite a significant amount larger than the TheLittleOne. TheLittleOne is trying to verse a heavily shielded Stalker versus a non-shielded Stalker, so he's going to have to work very, very hard trying not to lose that Stalker. Workers and another Stalker Stalker were needed to be involved for him to not lose it. We do now see Warp Gate will have finished, and he is not bothering to produce any more units. He's just going to turn them into Warp Gates, because I think it would be about the same pace at this point in time. We do see 3 Zealots trying to be warped in, but they would have been refunded given that they were cancelled. We do see a 4th gateway going for Duckloadra. 4 gate coming from Duckloadra. This is going to be quite interesting. He's now turning into a ladder player, people, because Protoss on ladder, always 4 gate. It's kind of become an assumption for me. It's kind of like, ooh, Zerg, you'll see Mutas. Protoss, you'll see 4 gate. At least in 1v1. 2v2 maybe not so much. So the little one is pushing a 3 gate, while Duckloadra is pushing a 4 gate. This could make things quite interesting. Duckloadra can now warp units outside of his base, which the little one cannot. Well, I guess he could warp in 1 unit there, 1 unit there, but Duckloadra can ignore a lock-in and get around it, which at the moment the little one can't. This is not a big deal, but it is a difference. Was that a... yes, it was. A robotics facility is being produced by Duckloadra. This is quite ambitious, given that he cannot actually produce enough income to do this. We do now see that the little one is putting down a Twilight Council, going for a early blink, I would suggest, given that he doesn't have many Zealots. An early blink could make things quite interesting. He is also going for a hallucination. With the new time, this is quite interesting. This will allow him to get an air unit, get sight, blink up, and then be in his opponent's base without ever actually have to go robo or air tech. The other thing is it may be able to spook his opponent into believing he either has more forces than he does, or has an air unit, or a Colossi, or an Immortal, or a power unit, which he could use to his advantage in a fight. I have seen a game before where me and my friend were playing 2v2, and we were able to hallucinate 5 Colossi before we went into a big fight, and they GG'd as soon as they saw the 5 Colossi. They weren't even real. We do see a hallucinated Phoenix being pulled out by the little one, and as long as it doesn't die, Duckloadra will be unsure of what the little one is doing. The beauty of this is that in the first game, the little one did actually go for a Phoenix build with a what's it called? A Stargate. So he might have been fooled. However, that observer was able to spawn right as the thing was flying past it, so he may have been able to spot it. Now this push is going to be quite hard for the little one to deal with, but they are about even. He does, however, have Defender's Advantage, Defender's Choke, and a Sentry, but this is going to be quite interesting given that he is holding this little nice concave in here and is able to hit the mineral line. This was featured by Day 9 in a daily a couple of days ago, or a week ago, or some point, I don't know. But he is able to gain sight with this observer and is able to hit up this ramp. However, the little one does now have more stalkers. No, I think the numbers are about even at the moment. However, the little one is able to do Blink Ryko and the Duckloadra isn't. So this means that all of little one's stalkers should survive, because when they are on low shield or low health, they will be pulled back. However, Duckloads will not. So Duckload needs to pull back right now, or it's going to be GG from him. And as it stands, the score does stand at 2-1 for Duckload, so he is able to be slightly more advantageous than the little one, because the little one, if loses, has lost the series. However, if Duckloadra loses, he does not lose the series, so he is able to be slightly more risky than the little one can be. So Duckload trying to do whatever damage he can. I think he probably should have pulled back by now, because he has lost. Basically, he is trying to get that last stalker, but is unable to. He is going to have difficulty fending off this amount of stalkers from his opponent. His opponent is going to push in, and he can now warp in units, but he does not have the resources. I suspect this will be GG from Duckloadra, and the little one will have won. However, we shall find out very, very shortly. Yay! Come on, what's happening? What's happening? Liquid TLO is pushing up into the main. He is pulling workers off the mineral line to see what he can do. However, Blink Micro is going to be the death of Duckloadra, I suggest, because he is able to save more and more stalkers, which can just sit at the back and fire. However, Immortal has spawned. This Immortal could make Liquid TLO's life very, very difficult. However, he is able to blink up here and get the Immortal. I did not see the Immortal get out. I did not see the Immortal die, to be honest. Duckloadra, then GG's. Liquid TLO playing some very, very good play and very, very good blink micro. Blink micro allowing him to save Stalkers when they should have normally died from earlier confrontations, which allowed him to push Duckloadra because of his own weakness, due to the fact that he was losing more Stalkers than the Little One given the blink micro. Little One doing a very, very good strategy that when you've done a strong push, always expand. 99% of the time you will win, well, let's just say 90% of the time you will win, but the other 10% you have an expand to work off. This is KEnODvT, and I'll see you guys in replay 5. This should be an interesting replay given it's 2-2 and a best of 5.